Here we go. Here we go. It is Markets in the Morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Tuesday, February 13th, 2024. This is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action of the cryptocurrency market, including the Bitcoin price chart and the altcoin market. We'll take a look over there at the United States stock market, which is set to open in 2 minutes from right now. Of course, we'll take a peek over there at the DXY, or the US dollar currency index, and precious metals like gold, while also taking a look over there at any type of financial news to kick off the day and any type of crypto news to kick off the day. As a reminder, today is February 13th. 94% of my audience is male. Gentlemen, do not mess this up. Go get your stuff today. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Don't mess it up. Okay? Reminder, get it today. All right, tomorrow's Valentine's Day. Today, though, we did actually have CPI come out, the Consumer Price Index, measurement of inflation. Had a little bit of a miss there on CPI. Expectation month over month was 0.2%, came in at 0.3%. Year over year came in at 3.1 with an expectation of 2.9. I don't know if you know how to do math. That made 0 sense, how you could have an expectation of 0.2% month over month and an expectation of 2.9% year over year. The math didn't add up. We'll take a look at that today. Stock market selling off before we get into the opening. In pre-market, the NASDAQ is down 338 points. The Dow is down 317 points. The S&P is down 65. So down almost 2% for the NASDAQ in the opening, 1.3% for the S&P, and 0.83% over there for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. As for Bitcoin, takes a swap backwards when the CPI data comes out, when the stock market sells off, because of course Bitcoin's not tied to the stock market, not at all. It sells off right when the stock market sells off as the CPI data comes out. Bitcoin currently sits at $48,900. Total 3 sitting over there at 512 billion. So market takes a little bit of a turnabout as the stock market gets open, as that data does come out. So first things first, let's talk about what's happening with the actual CPI. So I'm going to pull these numbers up here really quick and put them on the screen for you. I would show you investing.com, but they just litter the dang thing with advertisements all over the place. So if I show it, we're just going to have like all kinds of ads everywhere. So we'll just not do that. Here we go. Here. There you go. That's CPI month over month, right? So what we actually end up doing is when we're calculating the year over year, what happens is a past figure falls out and gets replaced with a new figure. So for this month and for next month, the two figures that are getting dropped out of the year over year inflation is this one right here, which is a 0.5. And then next month, we'll have this one fall out, which is a 0.4. So we essentially just replaced in our year over year calculation a 0.5 with a 0.3. So there's your 0.3 happening right in there. And so what was odd is that the market somehow says we're going to get a 0.2 and that's going to somehow drop us to 2.9. That has not been the expectation that would happen here, just because we do simple math on the channel, that would not be possible. But here you go. Here is our year over year calculation for CPI. So this is what the market is losing its cool about today. And we'll minimize this a little bit to get it kind of like that. There you go. And we'll make this a little bit bigger. So there's our year over year, right? It's not like we ticked up higher. But why is the market tripping out? Market's tripping out now, saying, hey, 95% probability that we're still going to be paused during the next meeting. And now things will even be paused there over in May because we didn't hit 2.9. But so here's what happens, right? So market somehow thinks we're going to go to 2.9 by replacing that 0.5 with a 0.2. We replace it with a 0.3. We end up with a 3.1. So even if we did get the 0.2, we still would have missed that 2.9. We would have gotten 3.0 because math. So anyway, the next meeting that we end up having, or the next CPI print that we end up getting, will take out that 0.4. So if we want to see a 2 handle on the front side of CPI, we have to get a 0.2% or less on the next reading. So our next reading will come out, somewhere around there, 11th, 12th, 13th, or 14th of March, which will be a week before the Fed meeting. And at that time, as long as we end up with a 0.2, then you will see a 2.9% on CPI. So you would see it drop down in there. But this shouldn't be any surprise that we didn't get 2.9. I do not have any idea why the market forecasted that we would have 2.9% for today, because the math of that doesn't make any sense. Either way, we end up getting a 3.1%. So the CPI does drop. So it still goes down, not as much as the market for some reason had priced in, which is still just very odd to me. Looking over there at Bitcoin, though, back at $49,000 now as the market does open. Let's look over there at the United States stock market as we kick things off. Dow Jones down 327 points. NASDAQ down 324 points. The S&P down 63 points. So 1.83% for the NASDAQ, 1.27% for the S&P, 0.81% for the Dow Jones. Who's getting hammered? United Health is the only one in the green here on the screen. Coinbase, ARK, Roblox, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, NVIDIA, all 2% or more to the downside. And Meta and Tesla very close there at 1.8 and Caterpillar at 1.9. So very, very rough opening over there for the market. The Dow Jones had gotten within 1%. I know that says 1.06, but that's just where we closed. It had gotten within 1% of a 4.236 extension, now currently sitting about 2%, and it had gotten within 0.41% of the height of the roaring 20s, which ultimately led to the Great Depression. As for the NASDAQ gets above 4.236 extension. We were talking about this many times just because we get poke above it. That's what we typically do. You can see it's now back down below the 4.236 extension. So all eyes on the stock market now as it has hit these levels. As for Bitcoin, again, I don't have to reiterate it 100 times, but I will. Right? This is not like a standard bullish correction that has happened here in this move. Things we talked about yesterday, Markets in the Morning, and in the videos for these. This would be a standard correction, would be an A, B, C correction happening in here. When you have something that sells off and takes out a new daily low and then shoots right back into the high, it's typically distribution. And that is what we saw happen in here, right? Straight down, no ABC correction, takes out the lows, right back to the high. This is very classic behavior to be mindful of distribution occurring here for Bitcoin right now. The reason you're not going to get that over there on Twitter, and you just have to understand that the position that content creators are in, up only is the thing. If there's no ability to pivot to talk about downside action, then we can't do it. Right? So just understand this is very typical behavior happening in here, and just to be really mindful of it. Right? I've talked out my theses of topping structures and topping structures again, and nothing has changed with that happening here for Bitcoin, especially since we're right underneath the retracement levels. These things are all happening while these things are at their 4.236 extensions. I even saw it in the chat before yesterday's live stream. Someone saying this time is different. the famous last words. But again, I just think it's hopefully it just lasts longer and we have a longer distribution structure happening in here, and that this is the first knock, right? We've gone through several times talking about these things, how they can end up looking with how they behave. You'll knock it once and then knock it a second time. Hopefully that's our case and we buy ourselves some time because we haven't started cutting, and cutting is usually the mark of the sky is falling. It is not the mark of the Fed's going to keep the bull dream alive. It's the mark of the Fed is trying to prevent the crash and crumble. Okay. There we go. $49,000 for Bitcoin. XRP, absolutely nothing exciting happening here. Still 52 cents. The lows have held ever since we hit right into our target zone happening back in here, but there's just been no real reaction coming out of XRP yet. Of course, that did get marked with negative news. That's always usually a good thing. This was the Chris Larson hack, $112 million, I believe is what it was. That got stolen right in there. Of course, you create all those fear narratives, all that depression, all that worry, all that anxiety, all that the sky is over and everything like that. That's really the kind of thing you look for. When you do see a bottom, similar to like FTX, it's the same thing with tops. You look for extremely positive news at tops. That's usually going to mark them because everybody's going to believe this time is different because of some news. However, we just haven't seen a reaction come out of here just yet. So we'll still just kind of sitting back waiting for something to end up happening there for that asset. But as for stocks, now that we are open here for 8 minutes, the Dow is down 363 points. The NASDAQ is down 295 and the S&P is down 60. So it looks like we're gaining a little more momentum over there on the Dow and the S&P, but it looks like the NASDAQ has kind of calmed down for just a second here. ARK, Roblox, Coinbase, Netflix, ARK, Roblox, Coinbase, Microsoft are all over 2%. Then you have Caterpillar, Nvidia, and Amazon and Google over 1.75% to the downside with the actual opening. Bitcoin back at 49,146. Ethereum has had a big couple of days over in here, so Ethereum has continued marching up in here, getting back to those highs, still just chugging on along. This asset looks bullish to me. But we'll just keep our eyes on things. But this one still just looks phenomenal. I've made videos on this thing. We've done Elliott wave counts on this thing. This thing still just looks great. But this bad boy, where it's at, keep a watch out for it. All right, there we go. Total 3, still back at top of range. XRP got it. Dow, again, these things. NASDAQ, boom, right back down below that. And so there you go. There you have it. Back below the 4.236 extension for the NASDAQ. Fed market expects that we are still, oh, there you go. Now only 91.5 compared to 95% just a few minutes ago. You can do it. This website's probably getting pounded right now. All right, 91.5% probability of a pause still at the next meeting, 61% probability of pause in May. I'll be curious to see what this actually is when we get to the next CPI. We still have another CPI reading before we go to that meeting. And that's where I think the best chances of that 2 handle on the CPI are. And that's really what we've talked about a lot in here. It was not expected that you would get a 2 handle here on this CPI. It would be the next one. All right, looking over there at the DXY. Like we've been talking about, most people ignoring the DXY. Now you're going to finally start seeing people talk about the DXY. Oh no, DXY. We've been watching it the whole time. We're finally getting that climatic moment happening in here for the DXY. So we'll be looking for, hopefully, to see this thing start to calm down, right? It doesn't mean it happens overnight. These things can last weeks doing things like this, but we're getting very close to where the expectation has been in here. So DXY has still just continued to march up and up and up, and we're getting to where the expectations have been as we've been doing this thing all year, all of 2024. Watching the DXY, finally getting very, very close. As for gold taking a little bit of spill back at 1996, still really high for gold, but at 1996 this morning. Silver down 54 cents, down to 22.15. Looking over there at news on CNBC, consumer prices rose 0.3% in January, more than expected as the annual rate moved to 3.1%. It's funny how they'll word these things a lot of times, right? Like CPI dropped year over year, drops to 3.1, but we got to spend it in a different manner. If this had a 0.2, yeah, this is just funny because we watched how they change this narrative every time, whatever the number is, but it's funny. All right, Dow futures fall 300 points after hotter than expected U.S. inflation data. Paramount it dropped to 3.1. Paramount Global lays off about 800 employees the day after. We'll talk about CPI here in a minute. We're going to talk about the problems with it for a long time and why it is an issue that the Fed is backed into a corner And the Fed rate cut bullish people are mega wrong. We'll talk about that in a minute. Paramount Global lays off about 800 employees a day after announcing Super Bowl ratings. No, you know what? Forget that. We're going to talk about it right now. All right. Inflation, right? The problems here. Okay. And this is now the market finally waking up. That's what I think is happening today. The market is finally waking up from the drunken stupor and understanding the problems with the Fed, and that your rate cuts are not going to be bullish for you, and that when rate cuts they're coming, there's going to be a problem because the Fed has been checkmated. The Fed has been utterly checkmated by the market. Okay. The Fed wants to see lower inflation data. Matter of fact, they just want to see similar behavior. They don't want to see better than what we've been seeing. They just want to see consistent what we've been seeing. If they get more readings, they say they'll cut rates. Blah, blah, blah. Market interprets that as being super bullish. We just lost the 0.5 right here out of the year-over-year reading, and we just replaced it with a 0.3. Okay? Next up is this 0.4 right here. Okay? It's going to get replaced on the next one. Okay? If that comes in at a 0.2, then hey, we'll get a 2 handle there on the year-over-year. But after that, the gig is likely up. That's the bottom of inflation. This won't go any lower than that. Because after that, you have this 0.1, then you have another 0.4, and you have 0.1, 0.2, 0.2. We're not creating numbers of like a deflation that are going to cause this to drift much lower than what it's already at. And after that next reading, when this happens, if this comes in and we get that 2 handle and the Fed doesn't cut, then on the next reading that we get, we're going to see CPI drift up again. And it's going to become apparent that there's a crisis out there of all this debt that needs to be refinanced at lower rates. However, inflation isn't cooling. And the Fed is backed into a corner of where they can't cut because inflation is coming back. And where if they don't cut, there's going to be a corporate credit crisis. So the Fed is backed into a corner. And I don't see a way that they're going to be able to do it unless if they somehow just start and make the markets happy, which I don't know. Otherwise, it feels like that crisis is going to have to come, and that's going to have to be the thing for them to cut the rates. And all these charts all say the same thing. And Bitcoin's retracement says the same thing. That the Fed has been checkmated by the market already. And I don't know. I don't know how that narrative is going to go. Because that next reading, that 0.4, that's it. After that, for the next 5 months, the average is like a 0.2, right? Pull one here, average of 0.2 for 5 months in a row. So you have to beat 0.2 average for 5 months in order to potentially be able to drop CPI any further than where it's at. It seems highly likely the next reading that we get on CPI is going to be the bottom, and then we're going to see CPI drift up again. The track upward is going to resume again on year-over-year CPI. And if the Fed is saying they're going to cut rates if we continue getting good data, well, the good data finishes next month. That's the end of it. After that, and that's only if we get a 0.2, right? If we end up getting a 0.4, oh my gosh. and it doesn't drop it. Wow, it's game over. The inflation dropping narrative is game over. So it seems like there's the potential for one more fall based on that one. But then after that, there's no more dropping in the CPI. No more. That's the end of it. We would have to move into true deflation, right? That's the only way we could do it. And so how are you going to move into true deflation? You have to be innovative, where like you're outsourcing and that's reducing the cost of manufacturing and reducing the cost of goods. Of course, a lot of people speculate AI will reduce the costs, right? Because a lot of jobs that are out there won't be needed. Okay, so we're going to increase unemployment. Okay. But, obviously China, right? China has been the thing for the last decade or two of really pushing manufacturing overseas, and that has kept inflation at bay by manufacturing goods overseas and outsourcing labor costs. But will we have that now? So I don't see how we're going to produce deflation in asset prices or deflation without an economic downturn. So get ready. So this is the problem that we have. If you listen to the Fed and they're telling you that we need more good inflation data, well, you only have one more. After that, it's going to be very difficult for the next 5 months. So 5 months, that takes us way into here. It takes us way down here. So, okay, that's enough of that. Bitcoin, 48,820. All right. Paramount Global lays off about 800 employees a day after announcing record Super Bowl ratings. U.S. core inflation stays high, putting May rate cut in doubt. Right? Again, show me a time in the last 20 years where we have cut rates and it was bullish. Why are we interpreting it that way today? U.S. inflation tops forecast in blow to Fed rate cut hopes. Wall Street roiled by still sticky CPI signals. Exactly. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? What is this market going to do when it has realized inflation is not going to go to where the Fed wants it to go? Wrap your head around that. It's not going to go to 2%. Great inflation hedge unwind sees tips ETFs lose $43 billion. Cointelegraph, crypto greed index hits the highest level since Bitcoin's 69K all-time high. Let's go take a look. Wow. Yep. Again, this website is littered with ads. Extreme greed on Bitcoin into the retraces. Highest measure of extreme greed in years. It's just a fascinating thing to witness when we talk about when we go through all these periods and talk about they'll all come back, they'll all be super mega bulls when we get back to the retracement levels, and then you log onto Twitter and you see it, and then you see it in the data too. How the YOLO is here. And we talked about that in yesterday's video. Like if you go onto Twitter and post anything and be like, hey, this thing could be topping because it's at retracement levels, throw the daggers at them. Right? All right. Back to the news. Quit the rambling. We're at 23 minutes of rambling already. Bitcoin OG, who called 2021 all-time high, sees 600K. Okay. What OG called the all-time high? Who is it? Who called the all-time high? Who's the OG? Okay, I'm targeting. Oh, this guy? Who is this guy? Bank of Government Statistics. Okay. Just keep that narrative going. Yeah, right. All right. Chat GPT. These guys would never dare cover me. They got their little sources of people that they like to use that perpetuate the narrative. Remember, Cointelegraph wasn't even talking about Solana. All right, ChatGPT trigger happy with nukes. Sega's 80s AI, Tau up 90%. AII. Real life Doge at 18 meme that's going to the moon. Binance founder CZ's sentencing date is postponed until April. In inflation-torn Argentina, locals use crypto caves and avoid Bitcoin. Joe Biden posts laser eyes meme after Super Bowl, but it's not about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's market structure beneficial to price post-halving. On-chain indicators suggest Bitcoin market is now high risk. You don't say. You don't say. That's not what retail says on Twitter. CEO of Ripple-owned blockchain custody firm Metco steps down. Yeah, their CEO steps down. I always remember Digital Asset Investor. Remember him being like in 2018 or 2019. I mean, it was probably 2019. I used to listen to him when I was on, it was 2018. When I was walking on the treadmill. It was like part of my day every day. And he always says, whenever a CEO steps down, that's a very concerning thing about the company. Whenever a CEO surprisingly steps down, it's time to be worried about that company. All right, Bitcoin traders scoop up options bets at 65K and higher. The bullish flow is reminiscent of the 2020 to 2021 bull market when traders consistently snapped up Bitcoin calls at levels well above the going market rate. First mover Americas, Bitcoin at 50K. What next? Peter Thiel made a $200 million investment in Bitcoin and Ethereum before the bull run. Sweet. Sweet. All right, 48,801. There we have it. Very little green in the market, but at least there's a little bit in there. Total 2 still up. Ethereum still trying to hold itself up there. XRP on the struggle. Bitcoin at 48,778. Again, acting like distribution. Just what kind of distribution is this going to be throughout here for Bitcoin is my thought process. And I kind of covered that yesterday in yesterday's video. So there you go. Dow Jones Industrial Average smash, down 488 points here into the market opening. NASDAQ down 285 with the S&P down 68. The only one in the green, United Health, just barely with Coinbase, ARK, and Caterpillar, and Ford, and Roblox all down more than 2%. Microsoft right on the cusp at 1.98%. NVIDIA, Meta, Amazon, Google, everybody over 1% down to the downside, but Coinbase getting hammered the hardest out of all of them on there, on that list at least. Treasury yields up and away today. 10-year yields up 0.096, so it's at 4.277%. We'll see the mortgage rate, 30-year mortgage rate rise today for sure. All yields are up except for those really short durations of 1, 2, and 3 months. The 4 is even up just slightly along with the 6, and then once we get into those yearlies, where's the 1 year? 1 year is at 0.08, almost back to 5% for the 1 year yield. 500 points for the Dow Jones Industrial Average as the Dow got within 0.4% of the height of the Roaring '20s and the Great Depression. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it all goes. But Bitcoin still sits up there at 48. So it came up just shy on like the, still shy on the market cap of 702 retrace. Again, like the most bullish scenario to get, right? If this isn't one of these, which it could be, right? It could be one of these. If not, my thoughts are it's one of these. So it's not like for me, there's nothing for me to chase here with Bitcoin at all. Like exposure of what I want to be exposed to, I'm out. I got my little 8% that I've had since 2018, 2019. But as for anything in here, I'm out. Here. But the thing that would be the most optimistic is if, of course, right? This is not in my base case. Is that we have a correction, but we still hold way above these levels, and then A, B, and then C, but still maintain these levels. Anything straight line down, really aggressive back in here with no like corrective structure or ABC in here would be the concern. Because now at this point, for me, the way I'm looking at it is make sure we're not doing that and that we're more so in something like that right there. There's still that one last little push to go. There's still that one last little push to go. That would be our optimistic scenario for me. That, and just like we talked about in yesterday's video, that gives the juice for the altcoin market to go, and then it's just one of these whole things all over again, right? And retrace, and then there you go. That's it for Bitcoin. Don't think I'm cheering for it. It's just you have to look at it from this perspective. It's the way I present the data. That's the way it's going to be presented on here. I'm looking through this lens. If I don't look through this lens, then I'm going to be just like every other content creator out there who's pointing to Bitcoin ETFs thinking it's the ETFs that matter when I know dang well it is not the ETFs. It is the stock market, right? So I have to look at it through that lens. So and I know I get aggressive when I talk like that. Well, that's just, we're being aggressive. That's it. That's what's happening today. So, okay. There you go. All right. Where are we? Where am I? Total 3, XRP, nothing. Dow, how are you? 520 points. NASDAQ, 290 points. Bitcoin, 48. It's actually holding up surprisingly well. 48,718. DXY, 104, right? So this seems like we're getting to the climactic part, right? So it's been watching this. It's been on nobody's radar. I don't see anybody talking about it over there on Twitter. Finally today, like we said, once we got closer to here, this is when we'll start seeing people talking about it. So that's a good thing. If we finally see people start talking about it, because it's finally gotten so far that people are like, wait, what's going on? That's what we want. And that starts meaning we're kind of reaching an extreme once it becomes noticed by the masses. But we're getting very close now, right? Like this thing only goes up to like 105.38. Here we are at 104.76. It took going all the way from 100 to 104.8, where we're looking for about 105.4. Hopefully, that's where we just kind of start calming down. But we're only 0.4, we're only 0.6 away from that. We've come up over 4 points to get here. We're only 0.6 away. Hopefully, this thing just chills out. This is the exciting part of the market. But then once we get down in there, it's where it's all scary doom time. As long as the market cooperates and we don't go straight down from here at 518 on the Dow. I need to check on how those shorts are doing. They've been getting hurt a little bit for the last couple of weeks. We'll see how they're doing. They should be a little bit improved today. All right, there you go, Bitcoin. There you go, Fed rate. Gold struggling today, 1994. We're going to be talking about that today. I'm writing a lot of the newsletter today. We checked over it with news. Again, it's the CPI data release. The Fed is checkmated, is what my thoughts have been. I just didn't think the market would wake up to it until the 2 CPI readings from now. But maybe the market has sniffed it out already. And I think I replied. Let me see if I can find it. For those who are on Twitter, you may have caught it already. From me to okay, I'm going to look for it. Sorry. 3,000 people are just sitting there while I am... Okay, so this is the first time I've talked about this whole checkmate thing. Here is me talking to TXMC on January 16th. And this is why I didn't think we would get 2.9% on this reading. The surprise scenario, which would be the checkmate surprising the market. CPI hits 2.9% year over year after the next two readings in March, not now in February. Fed cuts rate in March 30th. Market goes euphoric, soft landing. CPI rises back to 3.5% in April. Why? Because that was the bottom of CPI. It's over. Fed doesn't cut again on May 1. People confused as we have returning inflation, yet economy desperately needs cuts. And then they realize the Fed has just been checkmated. And that's what I think we're in. I think we're in a position where the Fed is likely already checkmated. It's just whether or not the market is going to wake up to it fast enough, or if anybody will wake up fast enough and not realize your rate cuts that you're getting from the Fed that you think are bullish. Find me an example. Find me one example of that narrative being true, because it doesn't exist. Okay, there we go. That's it. Happy Tuesday. We're at 35 minutes of rambling. I don't even know where the direction of this thing has been going. Anyway, 48,700 for Bitcoin. Stock market down 500 off of the CPI data. A very tiny miss of 0.1% on CPI. I just don't think, I don't think that's really the reason. I think we all know it. Just being mindful of where the stock market is truly at. You know, this is where you are. And it doesn't matter. The Fed cutting is not going to be good. So the longer the Fed stays paused, the better chance there is. And we've shown that data over and over again. So if people are like, oh no, the Fed isn't going to cut. Well, good. Good, I guess. No circumstance over the last 20 years has it been good for the Fed to cut. All right, there we go. That's enough. We are moving on. We're going to hop into the chat. Again, you guys can check out bcbacker.com. Check out the newsletter. We got a new one coming out soon. Blockchainbacker.substack.com. There's links in the descriptions of each of my videos and live streams. Like I mentioned yesterday, I'll be speaking at the XRP Gold Coast 2024, March 22nd through 24th in Australia. There's a link in the description to this video to that so you can check out that conference as well. As for Nazario Navarro, before the stream even started, said, when Moon, asking for a friend, hit that like, everybody. Thank you, Nazario. Andy Philpott gifted 5 BCB memberships before the stream even started. Andy, thank you very much. The Stoned Ape, hi BCB. Did you see Joe Biden's laser eyes on X? Are we doomed? It has nothing to do with Bitcoin. Just like that thing said, we talked about it yesterday, the Stoned Apes. Bitcoiners would love for it to have to do with Bitcoin. It's more of poking fun at the people who said that he collaborated with Taylor Swift for the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. I do think there's a probability. I think there's a non-zero chance the NFL rigged it because Taylor Swift was so involved, and then it brought a lot of viewership to the Chiefs, and that's why they took them all the way to the Super Bowl. I think there's a non-zero chance there was some manipulation into the games that happened for that to happen in order to keep viewership extremely high. Do I think it had anything to do with politics? I think there is a zero chance it had anything to do with politics. I think it likely had everything to do with the NFL knowing they're going to make a ton of money. That's what I think the reality was. But of course, he's poking at people thinking they wrote how they drew it up, right? And he posted it right after the Chiefs won. Again, I'm not political. I don't care what anybody's political affiliation is because I don't have a political affiliation. I will poke fun at Biden. I will poke fun at Trump. I will poke fun at everybody because I don't care. It's all a scam. All right. Rippin' Addiction. Any thoughts on inverse head and shoulders on gold from August 20th through November 23rd? Look at the weekly or monthly, and now we technically in a bull frag. Nah. Inverse head and shoulders, it's the one that falls apart the absolute most. So you're probably talking about this. I'm not looking at that from an inverse head and shoulders. And typically when you are looking at inverse head and shoulders, you're looking at it from a reversal context, right? Like a reversal. Not so often that you print one here, but more that you print one down at the lows. And these fall apart and break apart in the right shoulder more than anything. So it's very, very rare that I ever bring these up. And this is also I always kind of poke fun at. It's the very first technical pattern that anybody ever learns when they look at a chart is the head and shoulders structure, because your brain can kind of make them anywhere, right? Like so here, right? This looks like a head and shoulders. It's a technical Wyckoff accumulation structure that does happen in here, right? This is selling climax. This is secondary test in phase B. And then this is last point of support. Or head and shoulders, right? Or head and shoulders, but it's a technical structure happening in here on the reversal. But as for looking for one right here, yeah, right? Or like you have one right here on the right shoulder, but is it failing and not breaking through? I don't look for head and shoulders in this environment. It's more so in reversal, along with other things at the same time, but not right here. Doesn't mean it can't go up, right? And that's what we'll be writing about today. But I'm not looking for like head and shoulders here at all. Baby Oscar Hernandez, member for 5 months. Google Gaga. If this is baby Bitcoin top, will my baby alts top here too? P.S. Have you seen my dada? Watch yesterday's video, Oscar. If this is going to crash and crumble like this, probably. Probably the top of your alts. If this is longer distribution like this, I would not think so. I would not think this is the top. And this, we've gone through Wyckoff all over this stuff here. So I'm less convinced that we're going to just drop to the ground, but we got to be mindful of it. That's why we talked about ABCs and making sure this thing doesn't go in a straight line down to below here. If we go straight line down to below here, scary. It could still come way down here, straight line into the 44s, but then we'd look for a B, then a C, and then one more to get the final push, one more to get the final push, and that would be what we're looking for. If this thing goes straight line down just like this, yeah, God help us all. Strawberry Honey, thank you very much. First timer, no message. A lot of times people on their first time, they don't get it, but then they figure it out in a minute. Thank you very much. Brock Bozani, I'm walking on the treadmill right now, backwards. If you know, you know. I don't walk. I've never walked backwards on a treadmill. Too scared. I'll definitely trip. Nandini plays. Joined late. In math, you cannot average percentages? Question mark. Not sure what your question is. I'm not sure what you're asking, Nandini. I joined late. In maths, you cannot average percentages? Question mark. You can average percentages? I'm not sure what you're asking. Stakes at 135. Let's go. BCB. Are you open to sharing your top 5 altcoin positions? Thank you for keeping us on the right side of the trade. Best content in crypto. Yep. I think you could probably figure them out. I mean, like I mentioned them recently, Ethereum and Cardano and XRP, right? So you know those. Then number 4 is Bitcoin. And then the thing is that, so here's the problem I have. I'll have winners and I'll have losers. And the ones that will haunt you for the years on end is going to be the losers. Nobody ever says, hey, dude, you killed it on that 10,000% return on Cardano in 2021. It's like, well, thank you very much. I sure did. It's always, hey, what's going on with EOS? How's EOS doing? You know? So you don't ever hear about Cardano ever again. You hear about EOS for forever. So I go into it with the anticipation I will have losers, right? And I don't know which ones will be. David, did somebody say EOS? Right? So it just is, there doesn't really become an actual benefit. It becomes more of just like a thorn in my side for a long time. Ethereum, the entire crypto world is built on Ethereum. If you don't know that, and you're like living in the F-gate world, I'm sorry, dude. You are just straight up shooting yourself in the foot. Go do some research on the crypto market and understand crypto. The crypto world is built on Ethereum. As for things that are like next and top in line, very simple. Hold on. I practice what I preach. I'm waiting for it to load on the other screen because it's taking forever. I go shopping here. This is where I'm watching. Right here, sentiment, top development, cross-checking these things, going over to the developer report, checking these things, finding where the developers are. And these are the things I'm writing about, right? And like, I don't want it to be me here. I'm doing your picking for you, because the math specifically states it, right? 2021, okay? 17 of the top 100 went into new all-time highs, right? So what is the consistent thing between all of them, and having to find that, the user activity, the development activity? Here's the tools. Here's the stuff. Here's all of it cross-checked, all done in these newsletters, all these case studies done, all the data. Here's what mattered, right? And then now go here and look for all that data yourself, and you can find the things that were consistent amongst 2021 and 2024, and then make your own decisions. Otherwise, it's the same stuff. It's never good job on Cardano. It's always what's going on with EOS, right? And so I've given you the tools. I've shown you guys how to do it, to look at this stuff. Here's Cardano, number 4, most developed. Here's Ethereum, number 9, most developed. User activity levels, who's number 1? It is Ethereum. By far and away. If you live in the Ethgate world and you let that completely control you, you're just blind to this market. Blind. You need to wake up. Knock it off. Go look around and see what's going on in this market. Educate yourself and stop hurting yourself. Like, go study. Oh, status. S&T Gent asked about status. Yeah, status. So I'm not in status. If Coinbase is cutting it, I'm out. I'm not playing around in that playground. Hold on right here. I messaged them yesterday. I messaged Santiment because status is here at number 7. This is 2 of them, and I wrote about this in my newsletter. 2 of them I don't trust. Vega Protocol, 64 active wallets. S&T, 66 active wallets in here. I messaged them yesterday. They're going to find out what it was that Coinbase found in their review of why they're delisting S&T status. So careful with that one right there. And if anything, that one, Vega, screams the same thing. But thank you, Stakes at 135. I think you got it. You know, those the top 4. Then it's really sprinkled. It's really sprinkled amongst the stuff in here, right? Right. And I've written whole things on it. Your statistical probability. Okay. You could all do this math in your head. I hope. If not, if I'm speaking over you, then maybe you need to go get the Substack and read it. Go do yourself a favor and go read all the research that I've done, and in audio if you want to just listen to it and go for a walk. But even if you only got 5 coins, right? If you put your whole eggs into the basket of 5, okay? In 2021, only 1 out of 5 went into new all-time highs. 1 out of 5. In 2021. So you're betting on 1 out of the 5 that you have are going to go, which is about Does that give you a 100% probability that the one of the five that you have are going to? No. Also, like if you look at who the big winners were of 2021, it was like three monsters, right? Who are they? Mana, which is Decentraland, Solana, right? And Dogecoin, right? Solana was not ranked in the top 10. Mana was not ranked in the top 10. They were both down here in like number 11, 12, 13, and 14. So in order to land on any of those big hitters or to like have that chance of hitting those grand slams, there had to be more than five. Like it's just math. And I've gone through that in these things too. I've played around like in one of my last in the newsletter that I did. I'm gonna pull it up. This one, case study crafting a crypto portfolio for 2023, 2024. We played around with what would have happened if you only did a 10 coin portfolio in 2021 and how difficult it would have been to land on multiples, to land on Doge, Solana, and Decentraland at the same time, how difficult that would be. And that if you had a 20 coin portfolio, how that massively improved where you could land on, right? So if you're talking about just five, right, you have the data, you have the user activity, you have all those things like and development activity. I don't know how with only a 5 coin portfolio, you do whatever the heck you want to do. But if it was only 5 coins for me, I don't know how I couldn't just pick the top development, top user activity, and then just hope that pans out. Mike Billington, give me the trade call. Sell your Bitcoin Cash for Ethereum or just hold for a ride. Up to you, buddy. Tanver Raham Avi, X is so toxic about XRP. That is a good thing, right? X is the most toxic place on the planet. It doesn't just have to be about XRP. There's no holds barred. People can create 50 accounts and completely just stalk you. I have a giant stalker on Twitter. Okay, nobody X. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. JJ Jacob, I saw Manta Network in your newsletter. Did you get it? I don't have Manta Network. Manta was mentioned in here as one of higher user activity levels. Right, so it doesn't show up in the developer activity levels, but it shows up in the user activity levels. I think I don't have it because, like, when I finally learned about it, let me see. It's not available on Coinbase, Kraken. It's come down to more reasonable prices of being right out the gates, right? It's interesting. But no, I don't have it. I haven't brought new capital into this market in months. Nandini plays. Hi again. I thought it skews data when you average percentages for CPI, so they may have used actual numbers. I'm not sure, Nandini. Tino, I'm not asking for names, but do you hold altcoins outside of the top 100 and why or why not? I may. I don't know. I haven't like gone through my coins recently and been like, is this one located in the top 100 or not in the top 100? I'm trying to follow very specific criteria that mathematically improved odds in 2021. Whether it lands inside or outside of top 100 isn't really relevant to me on that front. I do know there's the allurement to go after stuff outside of the top 100, hoping that you're going to catch something that's going to ride you up into the top 20. I get it. That's what people want. And I get it. That's why people ask about altcoins like that on this channel. They have low liquidity and they're hoping the exposure ends up giving it liquidity and boosts it up and creates a hype storm. But most stuff doesn't. Yeah, I think Sia coin might not be in there. I've had some Sia coin for like 6 years. So that might be some. But again, not like I'd sit there and think much of that. If that thing moves, it's just because of a broader market move. Yeah, but the ranking of it doesn't impact my thoughts on it. Do we get to see this in here? So I own a little bit of Kusama, so that's rank number 143, right? The problem with Kusama and Polkadot is they use the same repository as explained by Brian from Santiment when he came onto the channel. So that one's ranked 143. But I don't own a tremendous amount of Kusama. I own way more Polkadot than I do Kusama. You're a warm soul. Can you check Litecoin and Aave? Okay, I'm going to have to stop us there. We're getting into altcoin requests. Litecoin was, I think we looked at it on the channel yesterday. Aave, I don't follow Aave, so I'm not going to pull Aave off. Right, we showed this the other day to show, look, this is how deep you are into this, guys, for those who don't know. Who didn't go through 2018 through 2020, who think, oh my gosh, this is just the most devastating thing that has ever happened in the history of mankind. It's not. Like, here for an example, this is what Litecoin was like in 2018 through 2020 to get an idea of it. And there you go. That's how far along you are. Hopefully we're on the cusp of something fun coming for Litecoin, but I think it's just going to be with the rest of the market, even if it does get it. You don't have anything exciting happening with Litecoin. We don't actually have development activity on Litecoin on here on Santiment, I believe. Or it's a 0.01, whether that's a tracking issue or if they are able to track it and there's just literally nothing being done. I don't understand why there's so many daily active addresses on Litecoin. But yeah, as for Aave, it never shows up in any of these lists on here. It doesn't show up on the information over there in developer report. So it's something I just don't even. Aave was like the DeFi of 2020, right? There you go. I mean, it just looks like the rest of the market, right? Nothing crazy, nothing unique, nothing like the summer of DeFi. Where stuff like this was rampaging all on its own during its own thing. It's now just completely moving with the market. All right. Chose Mo's. Do you still see ADA testing the sign of strength at 38 cents? Okay, we just talked about this yesterday. Like I specifically said, I'm not sure if it will or won't. Go watch Markets in the Morning from yesterday. Thank you, Chose Mo's, but that's a different language than was used. Kevin Bremer, here's 20 pesos. Please reveal entire portfolio. Just kidding. Thank you very much, Kevin. All right, there we go, guys. 48,863. Let's see how the stock market is doing now that it's been moving for a minute. Weird to say, it is calming down. The Dow is now down 464 points. So we did see it cross above that 500 threshold when the market had opened. The NASDAQ is down 235, which is 1.32%. That's an improvement. However, the S&P is down a little bit more, down 62 points at 1.24%. Precious metals have taken a hit this morning. Stocks really the most. So the biggest losers of today so far right out the gates are Coinbase, Arc, Ford, Roblox, and Caterpillar. Otherwise, for crypto, it's kind of held steady ever since that CPI data came out today, which was a very, very slight miss. It's really bizarre that that's the narrative attached. Andy Philpott gifted 5 BCB memberships. Andy, I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it, man. Guys, that's going to be it for this one. We are at 59 minutes, so we're trying to keep these things much shorter and keep them closer to that 45 minutes, which I have not done this week, so we're going to even tighten it up even more tomorrow. Otherwise, for something to do today, go to the grocery store and buy your lady flowers, chocolates, plan a little date. Like, look, you don't have to take them out to like an expensive dinner. Like, go buy some fettuccine noodles, go buy some heavy whipping cream, butter, minced garlic, Parmesan, whip up a fettuccine Alfredo at home. Your lady is going to be happy. All right? And then just say, I love you. And then, you know. All right. That's it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're looking for something to do, of course, check out bcbacker.com after you go to the grocery store to get your flowers, candies, and your fettuccine Alfredo ingredients. Of course, check out the newsletter over there on blockchainbacker.substack.com for the user activity information and for development activity. And of course, many times we just talk about other topics like we will this week. It's all important information. That's why I focus on it. But check that out. At the link in the description of this video. Here, I'll even post the link over there in the chat. Otherwise, guys, that is it. Stephen Edinburgh, thank you very much. That's going to be it for this one, you guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you could, please like this live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor, but if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.